Was it a little corny? That's how it works. I believe this is the problem that was next. I think we finished off on the problem before this. So this is where I believe we're picking up. Yes? All right. I don't think we have too many more after this one. Yeah, we only have a few more. Out of order, but that's fine. Yeah. I had this backwards. Oh, no, we got 3 left. So, when we look at this here, with factoring, the first thing we need to do is find the greatest common factor. Is there a greatest common factor between 4x squared and negative 7x? 3? No. Since there is no greatest common factor, we move on to step number 2. Our 2 sets of parentheses with 3 spaces. Now that we have that, we can move on to find the sign, finding the signs. If the third term is positive, the signs are the same and match the sign of the middle term. If the third term is negative, the signs are opposite. Well, here our third term is positive. So our signs are the same and they match the sign of the middle term, which is negative. So we have negative and negative. Questions on this so far? Now at this point here, we need to find the factors of the first and third term. So we're finding the factors of 4x squared and 3. Well, with our 4x squared, the x squared's factors are going to be x and x. Now we will need to figure out the factors of 4 that we want to use. Well, our factors of 4 are either 1 and 4 or 2 and 2. Which one do we want to try first? 1 and 4 or 2 and 2? 2 and 2. Now the factors of 3 are, well, 1 and 3. Because those are the only factors of 3, 1 times 3. So we just need to plug those in and then check to make sure, and check and see if we got this right. Now we multiply this out. We don't really need to multiply the 2x and 2x because that will always give us 4x squared, because that's actually where we got it. Our negative 1 times negative 3 will still give us positive 3, so that's fine. We need to check the middle term. 2x times negative 3 is negative 6x. Negative 1 times 2x is negative 2x. And negative 6x minus 2x is negative 8x. That is not the middle term we wanted. I mean, we could try switching the 1 and 3, but that's not going to cause anything to change because the numbers in front of x are both 2 and 2. So we can try 1 and 4. Where do we want to put the 4? Okay. It does and doesn't at the same time because we will check it to make sure it works. Our 4x times negative 3 is negative 12x. Negative 1 times x is negative x. So negative 13x. So we could switch the 1 and 4 The other option was to switch the 1 and 3. Either will work, because x times negative 3, bless you. Well, if we switched the 3 also here, if I switch the 1 and 4 and 1 and 3, we now have x times negative 1, and then negative 3 times 4x. So whenever we switch, we only want to switch one pair of factors. We don't want to switch both, because if we switch both, we end up back where we were. Now with this one here, x times negative 3 would give us negative 3x. Negative 1 times 4x is negative 3 minus 4 is negative 7. And since that's the middle term we want, these are the factors. Now we could have it written in the other way. Negative 4x minus 3 times x minus 1 is also correct. It's just based off our properties of multiplication. We can multiply any two things in any order, so both of these would work. Questions on this here? Are we ready for the next one? Two x squared minus 5x minus 7. Is there a greatest common factor? No. So we move on to step number 2. Our 2 sets of parentheses with 3 spaces. So our third step is to find the sign. If the third term is positive, then the signs are the same and match the sign of the middle term. Is the third term positive? B, the second part of finding the sign. If the third term is negative, then the signs are opposite.
So they're both positive. Oh no, never mind. I'm going to keep quiet.
So opposite, so what would one of them be?
Positive.
So again, it doesn't matter which one we put where first. They need to be opposite. The big thing is that they need to be opposite. Now, I'm rewriting that plus mainly because I didn't like how it looked there for a second. But one of them needs to be positive and one of them needs to be negative. It's not really key at this point which one's positive, which one's negative, because what's step number 5? Check. So if it needs to be switched, if it needs to be changed, step number 5 will tell us and we can make adjustments. Because the biggest thing, especially when we start setting these up and working through these, is get them set up, check them, see if they work. If they don't, we make a change. Like the last one, we switched 2 of the factors. Check it again. If it worked, it gave us the middle term, we're done. If not, we change something else. There's a lot of the guess and check in this here. So that takes care of steps 1 through 3. Step number 4, factors of the first and third term. Well, 2x squared, well, the x squared is x and x. What's the factors of 2? 1 and 2. So really, we just need to pick a spot for the 2 to go. It's going to be in front of the first x or the second x. Which one do we want? First x. And we put a 1 in front of the other x. We don't have to write it because 1x and just x are the same thing. Now we need to figure out the factors of 7.
3, 4, 3, 4. Oh, that's not.
Factors of 7. What multiplies together to give us 7?
Oh, yeah, multiply. I was thinking add. 1 and 7.
1 and 7. 7's prime, that's the only one we have. So we need to figure out a place. We need to figure out a place for where 1 and 7 go. Where would we put the 1 and where would we put the 7? 7 here, 1 here. Okay. Then we can check this. So we can do our 2x times negative 1, which is negative 2x. 7 times x, positive 7x plus 7x. Negative 2x plus 7x is? 5x. Is that the middle term we wanted? Is it the correct number?
Yes.
But it's the wrong sign. Because we got the right number but wrong sign. Really, we need what? The sign of 5x to change to negative, yes?
Yeah.
So a way we can change the sign of 5x from positive to negative is actually to change the signs. So we can change the negative to positive and the positive to. And it works out that way every time. If we get the correct number but wrong sign, change the sign. And we can check this here to make sure that this does indeed work. 2x times 1 is now positive 2x. Negative 7 times x is now negative 7x. And 2 minus 7 is negative 5x. That's it. And we only really need to focus on changing the sign if the signs are opposite. Because if they're the same, we won't have a sign error where it's going to come out as positive 5x, where it needed to be negative, or where it was negative and it needed to be positive.
Is the right number but wrong sign, do we always switch those?
Because the other way to do it would have been we had to switch both the x terms. We had to switch the x and 2x and switch the 1 and 7. We'd have to switch everything. Or we could just switch the sign. I think it's easier to just change the sign than it is to change every other number but the sign. But questions on this here? Let's look at the last one. 3x squared minus 7x minus 6. Is there a greatest common factor between these three terms? No. Because 3 will not go into 7 evenly, but it will with 6. So since it does not have a greatest common factor, we'll have our two sets of parentheses with 3 spaces. We factor it out. We pull it out. Okay.
Sorry, I just didn't want
So, step number 1, done. Step number 2, done. Find the sign. If the third term is positive, the signs are the same and match the sign of the middle term. If the third term is negative, the signs are opposite. Our third term is? So our signs are opposite. One's going to be minus, the other is going to be positive. It's going to be plus. It really doesn't matter which one we put as minus, which one we put as plus. We just need to pick one to be minus and one to be plus. I flipped it around. That's fine. Questions on any of this here before we look at the factors of the first and third term? Factors of 3x squared. Well, our x squared would be x and x. What are the factors of 3? 3 and 1. So where do we want to put the 3? Okay. And we can put the 1 in the first. Now we need to look at the factors of 6. Well, 6 has more than one factor. I would always start with 1 and whatever the number is and then work our way from there. Because 1 and 6, 2 and 3, and that's it, because the next set of factors would be 3 and 2, already listed, and then it would just repeat itself. Now, which one do we want to try first? 1 and 6, what's going to go first? And we can try this here. X times 1 is going to be positive 1x. Negative 6 times 3x is going to be negative 18x. It does not. X minus 18x is what? Negative 17x, yes. Negative 17x, so that doesn't work. Now we can switch the 1 and 6. But this is not going to work either. Because one of the reasons I know this won't work is, one, because I've done this problem already today, and two, when we look at that second parentheses, we have 3x plus 6. Is there a greatest common factor between 3x and 6?
2.
Try one more time.
What?
3x and 6.
Never mind. 1. No.
Is there something that's both divisible by 3 and 6? Something 3. 3 will go into both, yes? Is there a greatest common factor in what we had to start with? Well, 3 divided into 3, 7, and 6. No. If there's not one, there can't be one here. And if you notice that, it just means we can't have this set up. If we did try this, 1 times 6 is 6x. Negative 1 times 3x, negative 3x gives us 3x. That's not the number we want, or sign.
So like one of those,
Yeah, I thought that I could add it.
or do we just switch the sign?
Well, if we switched the signs, it would have made it negative 6x, positive 3x, negative 3x. So 1 and 6 doesn't work.
I thought that you had to add it.
2 and 3? Oh yeah, we already have it.
So have we tried 2 and 3 yet?
No.
So what's going to go first?
Wait, no. I thought we just said that wouldn't work.
This wouldn't work because 3x and 3, right?
Yeah.
We can still check it. X times 3 is 3x. Negative 2 times 3x is negative 6x, giving us negative 3x. So that doesn't work. But can we? So we can put the 3 here and 2 here. This arrangement, we don't have a greatest common factor in either set of parentheses, which still lines up with the original problem. And if we check it, x times 2 is 2x. Negative 3 times 3x would be negative 3 times 3 is 9x. 2x minus 9x is
Wait, you're
negative 7x. That is the middle term we want, yes?
Yeah.
So that's the correct factors. All the ones that we will have on this assignment will be factorable. It's just finding them. Questions on any of this here?
Factor it out, yeah. Show us that.
We did it.
I think that was one of the first problems we did, didn't it? We can do it again,
Oh no, I have it. Yeah. No,
because if it does have a greatest common factor, we factor it out.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then we do our 2 sets of parentheses with 3 spaces. Since the third term is positive, the signs are the same and match the sign of the middle term. Factors of x squared were
Then 2x plus x and 6 squared plus 2x.
right.
X plus 2, x squared plus 3x.
When we check it, we do get the correct middle term. X times 2 is 2x. 1 times x is just x, which does give us the middle term of 3x. And that's it.
I'm sorry.
You're good. Homework is this here.